The Bad Batch is a love letter to Star Wars continuity, and the more you know about the series, the more you'll get out of it. After all, the show is packed with small details designed to get hardcore fans in a tizzy. Here are a few examples you might have missed. The Bad Batch pilot pays tribute to its Clone Wars legacy right off the bat. First, the Clone Wars logo appears on screen, only to be burned away and replaced by the Bad Batch insignia. The first episode of The Bad Batch then launches into a Saturday morning serial-inspired recap, just like the ones that kick off every episode of the Clone Wars. As on the Clone Wars, the opening voiceover is performed by actor Tom Kane, who also played Yoda on the older series. However, in late 2020, Kane tragically suffered a stroke, inhibiting his ability to speak, which may unfortunately soon lead to his retirement from voice acting. If that's the case, the Bad Batch opening isn't just a nice way to bridge the gap between the two shows. It's also a wonderful tribute to one of the Star Wars animated series' signature voices, solidifying Kane's legacy in a galaxy far, far away. Officially, the Bad Batch isn't actually called the Bad Batch. In the Republic and later Imperial records, the group of misfit clones is actually known as Clone Force 99. As Clone Wars viewers know, that's a number loaded with significance.
I am merely stating a scientific hypothesis based on factual data.
In the Season 3 Clone Wars episode Clone Cadets, which is, chronologically speaking, the first time that we meet Bad Batch member Echo, we're introduced to a clone known as 99. Compared to the other clones, he's a little different. Something went wrong during 99's creation, and he was plagued by a number of genetic defects that rendered him unfit for duty. He basically became a glorified janitor on Kamino, home of the Republic's cloning facilities. 99's heart, however, worked just fine. Despite staying away from the front lines, 99 considered all clones, particularly those still in training, as his brothers, and ultimately gave up his life to keep them safe. Clone Cadets is actually the first time in Star Wars canon that we hear someone use the phrase Bad Batch, which is said in reference to Echo and his original team. It makes sense that the Republic squad made up of divergent clones would name themselves after the most beloved of their number. However, the name Clone Force 99 also has more sinister connotations. If you turn 99 upside down, you get 66, the name of the top-secret order that resulted in the Jedi's extinction at the clones' hands. The Bad Batch is about everyday soldiers in the trenches, not the high and mighty battles fought by the Jedi and the Sith, but you'll still see a few lightsabers in the latest Star Wars cartoon. The series pilot, for example, gives us an up-close and personal look at how Clone Force 99 reacted to Palpatine's Order 66, by detailing the execution of Jedi Master Depa Billaba and the escape of her Padawan, Caleb Dune. Of course, if you're all caught up in the animated Star Wars shows, you know Caleb by a different name, Kanan Jarrus, which is the identity he uses in Star Wars Rebels, where he leads the titular group of freedom fighters. Interestingly, this is actually the second time we've seen Kanan's brush with Order 66. The 2015 Marvel comic miniseries Kanan the Last Padawan shows us a slightly different version of these events. In the comic, Billaba tells Kanan that she'll be right behind him as he flees, and the Bad Batch itself isn't seen. Still, it seems like the Bad Batch creative team had the comic in mind while designing the scene. The clones hunting Caleb and the Last Padawan have red markings that recall the paint on the Bad Batch's armor, while one of the Republic soldiers hunting Caleb says, "Good soldiers follow orders," a line repeated by Crosshair in the Bad Batch pilot. Once the Bad Batch return to Kamino, but before Crosshair betrays them and they're forced to go on the run, the defective clones spend a little bit of time unwinding in their quarters. There's no doubt that the clones have made the room their own. On text bunk, for example, you can see schematics for some kind of device etched on the wall. Hunter's is decorated with the Bad Batch's skull symbol, while printed out targets featuring battle droids hang by Crosshair's bunk, showing off his prowess as a marksman. The most curious piece of decorating, however, is right by the front door. As the Bad Batch enters the room, Wrecker assumes the job of updating the team's successful mission count, which is scratched into the wall. A quick camera pan reveals that the Bad Batch has already finished 55 missions, while Wrecker says he's adding 11 more. What does that add up to? Why, 66, of course, which, as we already know, is a very ominous number in Star Wars canon. The Star Wars universe isn't hurting for unbelievably cute creatures. That goes for the cartoons, too. The Lothcat, an adorable little predator native to the planet Lothal, was introduced in Star Wars Rebels and has been the animated series' go-to mascot ever since. While the Bad Batch doesn't visit Lothal in the plot, it's not too surprising that the Lothcat makes an appearance anyway. Omega finds a stuffed animal while searching the barracks, and it pops up briefly earlier in the episode. The plushie belongs to Wrecker, showing us that the big brute has a softer side. It's also pretty clearly a Lothcat, albeit one decked out in the Bad Batch's signature red and black. The Bad Batch aren't the only divergent clones on Kamino. The Bad Batch pilot also introduces us to Omega, a young girl who is much more than she seems.
My name's Omega.
For one, she's the first female clone we've seen in the Star Wars canon. For another, she's the protege of Kamino's chief medical officer, a strange position for a clone. There's clearly something special about her, and while the Bad Batch hasn't clued us into what it is just yet, chances are it's something big. The Bad Batch is the first time we meet Omega, but if you're a longtime Star Wars fan, she might look kind of familiar. Squint, and Omega is almost a dead ringer for Sindel Tawani, one of the human leads in Ewok TV movies. The wavy blonde hair, the stylish headband, the impish grin. In terms of continuity, there's no obvious link between the two characters, but it's hard to imagine the Bad Batch crew didn't have Sindel in mind when designing Omega. In those made-for-TV Ewok films, Sindel is the youngest daughter of a family of settlers who crash land on the forest moon of Endor. Thankfully, the Ewoks are always there to lend a hand. From what we've seen so far, Omega is very different from Sindel, but there aren't many kids who get the spotlight in Star Wars, so it's not a stretch to say that they're cut from the same cloth, at least character design-wise. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Star Wars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.